Hello, and welcome to Nameless Studio. I'm your host, Tyler. Today we're going to continue working on our 11 by 14 encaustic landscape piece. But before we get started, I just want to mention that only about half of you are subscribed to Nameless Studio according to YouTube analytics. Now, subscribing goes a long way to help support me in what I do and helps me continue to make videos for all of you. So, if you'd like to continue to support me, please hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content. And with that, let's get started. Right, so we're going to start today with applying a bit of Neocolor pastel. And in fact, today I think we are going to be applying quite a bit of Neocolor pastel overall. Now, if we recall, the Neocolor 2 pastels are a Caran branded oil pastel that are water soluble. So we use them a lot to add pigmentation and light transparent color layers to encaustic. It bonds well with the encaustic and the wax, especially after it dries over a bit of time. So I use them quite a bit as a nice mixed media scenario for the encaustics. It also allows you to add a decent amount of color range as well without having to also then add more heat elements to your substrate. Because at this point, if we were adding too much heat into it, we could be disrupting some of these underlayers. So adding layers of non-heat is a big help in mitigating too much heat factor into those lower levels. So right now we're just using a bit of a green here to sort of engage more of the brighter foliage tones. We have a very dark green element that we had down before, along with some black and a little bit of yellow, just to add some of that sort of like early morning glow going on. Now we want to add some of that new foliage growth, sort of brighter green tone going on through a bit of this. And so that is what we are trying to do right now. Overall, this entire piece is a lot of light, short layers to help just overall build out more and more texture and layers. Now we are taking more of this Neocolor, but adding a little bit of blue, and we had waited till the other layer dried quite a bit so we could do this one right over without interfering with the other one. We added a little bit of blue to this to give it just another green tonation to add on top of this. And right now we're really trying to get more of that long grass sort of look. So we're really looking to get a lot of gestural marks to read through this when we're all said and done. So we're adding a lot of water to this one to really get that streaking sort of brushed motion more than anything else with this. So right now I just have a little cup here mixed up with a bit of pigment and a bit of water, and just kind of brushing it in. The nice thing about these is it does stay a bit transparent, so everything underneath you see, all those scratch marks that I made and everything else still stay as a viable and vibrant part of the piece that you still see even after overlaying this Neocolor on top of it. So now we've taken the tape off, and we now have a nice boundary for where our actual brook shore is. And so now I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and kind of break it up a little bit, because at the moment we have very stark straight lines. And in nature, you don't find very many straight lines. On the human body, you find none. And in nature, they are few and far between. And if they are, they're very short spaces of lines. So we don't want it to read as too unorganic. So I am breaking up some of that straight aspect that we have. As you can see on the left side, it actually reads quite nicely. You get a little bit of indentation there where the black goes on. So we have a nice gradient effect going on over there, and that works quite nicely. On the right hand side, it is a bit more stark in contrast there. It is a lot straighter. We're gonna leave it like that for now. Play with it a little bit down the road. but for now it does look pretty good as far as mimicking the actual brook shoreline. So we're going to kind of leave that at that. But we are now definitely starting to see the landscape element of things really start to build and really start to inform the composition now. Still a bit to do in order to really flesh this out, but it's definitely starting to feel like a landscape. And now we're just gonna keep on putting in little details on those shorelines just to add more of that reality to it and more aspects to ground it and to give it more of a natural sort of organic feel. So a lot more X-Acto knife and cutting and scratching and just getting it to really feel like a dense vegetation. And the black in the background at the moment is still feeling heavy. It's definitely still the focal point of the entire piece, and that's not going to change. It's going to be overall the focal point because it is that dark center. So you're always going to be drawn there, no matter how vibrant that black is. But we do still want to tone it down a little bit as we go. It's still feeling just a little bit heavy overall. But for now, we're just going to be adding in more lines, more texture, things like that to really hone this piece in once we're all said and done. Gotta find those spots where we really want to put some of these elements. Because like I said, we're building them in very, very short and stub sort of layers. So understanding where the next layer is going to go is half the battle. So sometimes you'll see me kind of searching for where I want to put a mark because I have to try and figure out what the next layer is going to be as I'm building the current layer. So now that we have a couple layers of Neocolor but down and some scratching and mark making that we've been doing throughout this entire process, we are going to do just a light bit of clear coat because we really don't want heat affecting any of these lower layers now, and especially not the Neocolor layers that we just put down. Because if we were to put more heat on top of this, that Neocolor would disperse in kind of odd ways. Now that it's dried completely to the underlayer of encaustic medium that it's on, once it gets fired, it can break apart in very odd ways, which can be a lot of fun to work with, but not what we want in this piece. So having that buffer layer on top of there is a nice thing to have. And as you can see, we have a lot of texture working right now just by applying that clear coat, which we do want texture in this piece, but we want very intentional texture. We want, again, the texture of foliage, of grass, and things like that. And a lot of this texture doesn't read as such. So we're going to leave a little bit of that in there, but we're going to really smooth out this layer with the blowtorch more than anything else. Down the road, I will work with eventually a lot more textured, unfired layers, but we do not want that element to be a part of this, as fun as it is. This needs to feel much more organic in how this texture works. And with the encaustic texture, it definitely reads organic, but the wrong kind of organic. So we're just doing very, very light back and forth motions with the torch for this, because we still don't want to overheat it so that we are affecting the under layers, but we do want to smooth out this top layer quite a bit so that we can work pretty freely on top of it without having issue of either pitting into texture or dimpling or things like that. So we have a much smoother surface now, as you can see. A little bit of dimpling in a couple spots here and there, but most of those are close to the brook itself, which is kind of where we want the texture to be, kind of smoothing out as we get more towards the actual trees and things like that. So definitely what we want for a smooth layer now that we can go back and apply even more Neocolor. because today is mostly going to be application of Neocolor. Right now, I'm applying black directly onto the piece. And as I've said before, with applying the Neocolor directly onto a piece, most of the time, depending on how hard you are applying, getting rid of that actual gestural mark can be quite difficult, even if you try and wash it out once it's on the actual encaustic. So with that in mind, that is exactly what I want. At the moment, just looking at these lines, they do feel a bit bold, a bit heavy. They definitely, because they are black against non-black elements, they stand out quite a bit. So once we have kind of applied these sort of guidelines and branches and just having these elements definitely helps kind of shadow, push things back, pull things forward. It grounds a lot of the foliage and boundaries between elements quite a bit for us. So it's important to have, and we need more black elements to help balance out the couple black spots that we have going on as well. But now we are going to take and wash these out just a bit, because even if I screw up at it with this brush, those marks are going to remain, at least to a certain degree, even after I brush them out quite a bit. So no matter what I do here, we're still going to have elements of that black mark. So in certain spots, I'm going to really brush it back and bring it back to a very light mark. Other ones I'm going to leave a bit stronger, again, to really help build out the dimension of the forestry and foliage and things like that we have going on in this piece. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is really just build out the details. I was doing so before, mostly with an X-Acto knife and trying to pull things back and do things like that. Now I'm trying to build out details with more additive scenarios. So that is what we're seeing here. And now that we have those sort of actual line elements in place, I'm going to add a little bit more sort of black wash on top of everything, not on everything, on a few spots, to again help push things back, pull things forward, and again detract a little bit away from that dark center that we have going on here. So that's a little bit, just a little bit of darkening aspects to help sort of flesh out this piece overall is what we're trying to do here. So, as I said, whole lot of Neocolor today, and just one coat of clear coat wax. And that is all we have for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Any questions, leave a comment below. And as I said earlier on in the video, please subscribe for more content like this. Only half of you are, so please, the rest of you, subscribe to support me. Thank you very much. And until next time, be seeing you.